Welcome to the conversation where we unpack the wild, interconnected chaos shaping our world, including the population's decline and all the reasons for it. Here with Joe Edgar and Ethan Kroc. There's a Wall Street Journal. There was this article most recently where they saw was it a 24% drop in drug overdose deaths, which is nearly it is triple the motor vehicle. So if you look back, it's 2015. I think 2015. Drug overdoses passed the number of people that were, deaths, your chances of dying by a drug overdose surpassed a motor vehicle, right? So I don't know how does that count if you're under the influence and driving. I don't know which one they
Well, and I'm wondering if at some point those kind of numbers are going to affect the numbers, aren't they? Like, aren't you going to run out of druggers dying?
Well, that was the same thing in COVID, right? In COVID, it was like, well, how did you die? Well, we're just going to say COVID. Everything went COVID. It was just like, well, I think it has COVID, so we'll mark it as COVID. So it's something similar, but the numbers, it's like 29 per 100,000, right? So if you think about it, that's every 5 minutes. And it was opioids first, the big opioid drug. And then now synthetic. I don't know if fentanyl.
On the news, I hear it's fentanyl. Yeah,
I think it is a synthetic opioid. Fentanyl. That's what it is. It is a synthetic version, right? And it's 50 times more potent. Fentanyl is. Have you taken fentanyl?
No.
I don't know if I have, but I have heard like the emergency when people have an overdose, it's killing 100 first responders a year on overdose because they touch the skin of the sweating overdose victim and they overdose just by touching their sweat. That's unbelievable. This stuff is crazy potent, but deaths have been starting to go down. And there's a couple of reasons that they think. One of them is because people started to smoke it. So they found it's less potent if you smoke it. And so that was, one way to, I guess, get around it. It has gone down a little bit because, of some efforts. And then there's I don't know if you all have Narcan. Like here, Narcan is everywhere. Everybody's putting it in their car. You have kids having necklaces now with a Narcan. Narcan it's really easy to use. Just like, I think you spray it up the nose. I've never actually done it. And if you use it falsely, apparently it doesn't do anything. So I'm just like, man, this thing should be like, just spray kids every day. But it's like a nose spray. And if you're overdosing, it will, save
like
your life.
Or something, huh?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. So I'm like, man, we need to just juice these up and have them everywhere. So now my own drug experience, I grew up, like I said, on a reservation. Chilliwack, Oregon, Southern Oregon, Klamath Indian. I'm not native. I'm the white guy, white tribe they call. And we did say Indian on the reservation. So I do often will say natives, but it's what I grew up saying was Indian. So, and shockingly, the largest ethnic group that is being affected by drug overdoses is the American Indian. Second is Eskimo, Alaskan Eskimo, and the least is the Asian population. So it kind of gives you a perspective of it, but it was quite shocking to hear. I was like, man, where I grew up, it was mostly alcohol. Alcohol was everywhere. Everybody drank. There's not that many white people on the reservation, so I didn't know. I actually didn't know.
Most places, like
what's alcohol?
In America, they sell alcohol like candy. You can get it at a gas station, right? Like,
well, come on, Australia, they literally have drive-through stores.
Except for Utah. Yeah, we do have drive-through bottle stores, but they're the only ones that sell it. You can't get a wine at the grocery store. You can't pick up wine at the grocery store.
So what, Utah, what, is it illegal? They have
Utah,
bars,
you can only buy it from the state. So you have to basically go to, it looks like a prison.
That's right. It's state-run liquor stores. That's right.
Yeah. No windows.
In Texas, it's illegal to sell hard alcohol on Sunday. So if you go in any grocery store on a Sunday, they'll have like this fake little plastic chain across the aisles that are like alcohol. So that'll be up on Sundays.
Arizona has 2 hours where they don't serve you alcohol. So yeah.
Oh, I think they shut 2 hours. Is that?
Yeah. Well, maybe it's 4. I think they shut it off at like 2, and then at 6 o'clock you can start buying again.
So it's lunchtime. They're like, listen, go have a nap, sleep it off, and then we'll recharge you in a couple of hours.
One of the things I love about being in Queensland is like, this is like old school Australia. It's kind of more like Hawaii. So it's kind of like, you know, you have to make sure you're stocked up because sometimes they just won't open if they don't feel like it. You know, like any excuse to have a public holiday here, everything's closed. Everything is closed. Sunday, everything's closed. Like they might have the grocery or something open until lunchtime, and then it's fuck this, we're gone.
So they're not claiming religion. They're just claiming like this is an excuse to close up.
Well, yeah, I think it's just. I mean, historically, Queensland was where you would go to retire. So you would,
Okay.
you would pay off your mortgage in Sydney, then sell that to buy
Gotcha.
a
That's our
retirement home and live
Florida.
off.
So it must be. Is it a conservative area?
No, it's not. I mean, there's no real conservative areas in Australia because religion is a new thing here. Religion is a growing
we'll trade
trend.
you Florida. In fact, if Denmark will take Florida, we'll take Greenland, and then we can make a switch. You can go and take.
Queensland is Australia's Florida.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. It sounds like it's elderly people, but Florida here, we joke that it's conservative. Texas is the ultimate conservative state, but Florida, we often joke around. I think it's
Melbourne. Melbourne is our California. Melbourne is Australia's California.
Okay, nice.
And so
maybe we can make a deal then. If you'll trade us Melbourne, we can switch Denmark, give them Melbourne.
You can have Melbourne. Take Greenland, you can have Melbourne.
Get rid of California.
We'll take Florida. We've already got gators. We've already got crocodiles.
So then, this is fentanyl. It's been one of the big arguments really to clean up the border. They've said, all right, all this fentanyl is being, brought in. Those who are impacted are mostly the age between 35 and 45. I was shocked, about that. And there are some costs that it adds. Like they estimate it adds $150 billion a year to healthcare and public services. So when somebody gets arrested, ambulance picks them up, they go to the hospital, no matter what. So $150 billion that go on, to these costs that really doesn't, impact something. And then there's some drugs out there I hadn't even heard of. Like there's one. What's the horse tranquilizer?
Ketamine. Is that what Musk is using? Yeah,
I'm hearing about this is a popular, and it apparently create. It's a hallucinative.
Well, a lot of people
microdose of ketamine. Yeah,
and it's ketamine, LSD, and mushrooms, and actually,
and ayahuasca,
and MDMA. Yeah, and MDMA. Yeah, and they're doing it.
There's been a lot of stuff come out about those hallucinatives that they're actually pretty good. I'll say,
yes.
My family has a strange relationship with drugs and alcohol. So I have alcoholics in my bloodline, many. My father was not a drinker, so there was no drinking or that. However, we grew up on a reservation where there's lots of alcohol and drugs. So I've lost, I have 4 less siblings. 2 of them were one overdose on drugs, and the other one was alcohol. So, we definitely hit the stats on some of those. And then, and then I've had, I have a nephew who's in prison right now because of something that happened while I was on LSD. Or no, not maybe LSD. I don't actually remember now. But drugs have definitely impacted the family in general, right? However, my brother kind of started this, and he went to Brazil and started using ayahuasca and found it to be a very, healing kind of a drug. He's passed it on. I think the entire family's on it now. And I do question sometimes. I was like, well, what's the difference between medicating and addicted now? He's even figured out how to make his own ayahuasca. But they found a lot of healing to come out of it. And I guess when you take ayahuasca, I haven't done it, but it sounds awful because you drink this tea. It makes you vomit. And you drink more and you vomit again. And you have apparently 2 experiences. One of them's amazing and the other one's awful, or vice versa, or both, or either. I don't know. They sound like everybody has something amazing to say and then something bad to say about the experience. But it sounds like it's healing. There's been some studies to come out that show you can actually reset the brain, and they help with, cigarette addiction and some other addictions. And so a lot of those seem great. I don't know. Fentanyl definitely does not fall into this class.
Yeah, I think the problem is often looked at from the wrong end. And I don't think it's the substance particularly, right? Like, whether it's, like, we could name a bunch of substances, right? Fentanyl is the public enemy number one right now. But I think the problem is, and you look at those demographics that you said that you're having the biggest, risk of death from drug use. I would say they're probably the most marginalized groups of people right now. And I think that the addiction comes from a separation of, like, there's a detachment. There's no, from my experience, people use drugs to try and reconnect to something. Some people make it spiritual and find a way to, they think they're reconnecting to God, or, reconnecting to some childhood experience or whatever. But and then there's a connection to other drug users as well. Once
My
you start doing the
experience when
drugs.
people use drugs, the only thing I see them reconnect with is the floor, typically. But
Sure, but that's a trauma based pattern that they've taught themselves that's what they're familiar with, that's what they know, that's what they like. And what I'm saying is, I think, everyone that I've talked to that has had a drug problem and been able to leave that drug problem behind, it's because they've found a purpose, they've found a way to
something more.
reconnect to society, or to re-engage with their friends and family. And I feel often that the ones that are suffering from extreme drug use is just because they feel like they're absolutely alone, and the drug, it helps them forget their isolation. Maybe in some cases it even takes them out of isolation.
So what do you think
But I
about
think
this gateway use then? I mean, in the US, decriminalization of drugs is going on. My own take, I mean, at one time, the marijuana industry alone was like $38 billion. I mean, that's the entire pharmaceutical industry coming across the US and Mexico border. And so more states have decriminalized it. It's still a class 1 drug federally. I was shocked Obama didn't change it. I was shocked Biden didn't change it, and I doubt Trump is going to change it. And so it's still a class 1 drug. It's a felony. It's the top one. Cocaine, crack is not. Crack's like
I want to
a
talk
class
about
2.
cocaine. I want to talk about
Okay.
cocaine, not necessarily
You
crack.
seem a little too excited.
Because
Wait,
have
you need to do this.
cocaine? Have you done cocaine?
I want to talk about cocaine. I have not done
you done-
cocaine. I have not.
Okay, there's a reason why it's such a popular
Walk me
drug.
through an experience.
Yeah, it's but you could go feel it for yourself right now. Just go get a bag of sugar and just swallow the whole bag of sugar. Like, that is cocaine. Like, it's literally, it's just a massive sugar rush, intense for a little bit. That's all it is. But that's why it's such a popular drug, because it doesn't really impair you that much. It's like having a lot of, and the problem is we don't treat sugar like a drug. Sugar is not very different from cocaine, and we've given it to everyone. So
now I've never snorted sugar, but I have had it.
I've snorted sherbet.
What is? I mean, so cocaine and crack are treated different in the U.S. And this happened.
Because crack is different to cocaine. Yeah.
Right. Well, crack cocaine is diluted, right? They add water, they dilute it, and then they crack it up. So crack, you have less cocaine in it. But if you're rich and you have cocaine, you'll serve less time than if you have crack cocaine, which is a Schedule 1. So, I mean, which is a diluted form. But because it was in the poor neighborhoods, and often many African-American neighborhoods, many African-American legislators, as well as liberal, fought to kind of outlaw it, to try to clean up the neighborhood, not knowing that it actually ended up creating a very racist legislative rule that has incarcerated many. The U.S. incarcerates more people than nearly the rest of the world combined. I think 5% of our population now is incarcerated.
The weed was the same. The weed was definitely, a racial kind of type.
Now, when I smoked weed, I was a teenager, and so it was much less potent from what I hear now. I mean, I've caught 2 of my kids with it, and man, just when they were in the house, like I could smell it 3 floors away. Like, oh, that's a really strong smell.
I think they should all be treated like alcohol, to be honest. I mean, they learned a lesson from alcohol with prohibition, right? and you know, all
You
the
mean don't
all the
outlaw it? I mean, why restrict the market? Because it is true. When you restrict the market,
control the market.
kids can get drugs way easier than they can cigarettes or alcohol.
A packet of cigarettes in Australia right now for 20 cigarettes costs you $40. That's a cheap packet of cigarettes. Yeah, it's like at $2 a cigarette, right?
Do they still put the little pictures of the cancer on the box?
It is cheaper to buy weed here than cigarettes. That's what I'm saying.
I see.
By the pound,
is it illegal?
by the gram, it's cheaper to buy weed.
How do Australians see marijuana? Are they tilting towards making it
we have medicinal
illegal
use now? Yeah, so in all states now we have medicinal use. So there is dispensaries, and even in some cases, I believe there's even government rebates because it's considered health. So it's a health. I believe some people are actually getting subsidized weed as medicine.
Wow, that's a hell of a dole program.
And we're actually moving towards psychedelics as
that way you don't have to sell your groceries to buy your drugs. You can just my drugs are on a separate bill. I can get my groceries, kids can eat.
Well, you pick it up from the chemist when you so the drug dealers are the chemists here now, bro. So the chemists are
they've always been the drug dealers. That's always where it's come from. So
yeah.
Opioid epidemic just exposed it, that's all.
And yeah, they're moving towards psychedelic use for the treatment of trauma patients as well. So, which I think is a good step forward too.
Yeah, it sounds like it's very positive. I mean, everything I hear about that seems to be positive.
MDMA, we're using MDMA in our to treat depression. Yeah, so love it.
Have you tried any
MDMA? Yes, it's very good. It's like pure
that was quite
right?
It's very good. It's very good. Yeah, I'm on it right now.
I wish I was. You should hear me talk on that stuff. Oh my god, yeah, it's crazy. But
is it a relaxer or is it kind of speed you up?
It makes you it's almost like you're having a constant orgasm for a couple of hours. It's insane.
Oh
yeah. You just feel really,
that's a
really
lot.
good.
No wonder they can sell cigarettes for $40.
Yeah, well, you don't get the MDMA.
After a day of MDA, you're just like smoking a whole pack. Nice. Well, it is. I mean, the way the drugs are coming through and the way, more and more states are kind of seeing it as a market that you shouldn't restrict, but let's regulate it in some source, kind of like alcohol seems to be coming around. Deaths are going down. They attribute it in part because people are smoking it, in part because there is some border control. But they really don't know, in part because their marketing, they've been saying fentanyl is bad. Don't use it. Fentanyl is everywhere. And we even had a case here in Austin where laced marijuana had a little bit of fentanyl in it. And so, kids were dying, although that would go against them saying that you could,
and sometimes I think that's also kind of a bit of propagandist too, right? Like, because anyone could have laced something with something, and then that helps your anti-weed agenda or anti-drugs agenda.
All right.
In this country, I don't know if I told you this, but our national flower is the wattle. And it is one of the highest forms of
It's not the gum tree.
It's one of the highest forms of pure DMT.
Oh, really?
They considered making it illegal about 10 years ago. They considered making it illegal.
The tree altogether or DMT?
The wattle. They considered making it a controlled substance because it's got so much DMT in it. So people making their own, you could roll your own bark out of this stuff.
Out of the bark?
It. Yeah, you can chew it. They make a gumbo. You can chew the bark and get high off it. Anyway, they were going to make it illegal, but then they realized that by making it illegal would draw more attention, and no one knows that this.
So now everybody has one of these trees in their yard. They're on every street.
They chose not to make it illegal because they didn't want anyone to know that it was potent. The other thing that has the highest amount of natural DMT in it, which is also a specific strain of DMT, is in the cane toads up here as well. So, you lick
you lick them? I've heard about these toads here in the U.S. as well.
And you release DMT, yeah. So
near the peyote areas as well.
Yeah. And so that's naturally forming everywhere. And so I
Well,
don't
I
think
mean,
it's
wouldn't the secret get out though? I mean, wouldn't every
not
gardener
everyone
be
wants to do it.
saying
Not
like,
everyone wants to
"Well,
do
I
IO.
also have this tree selection I can add to."
Not everyone wants to do ayahuasca. And then you
Mm.
also have these campaigns like, you know, you're going to die, cane toad, right? So there's a lot of fear out there. Like that's how I think, you know, more people would try mushrooms if they knew the difference between a mushroom and a magic mushroom. But you know,
I now know more
magic
people who
mushrooms
tell
grow
me they
wild.
microdose
Yeah,
shrooms.
yeah, and magic mushrooms grow wild, but you don't see mushroom epidemics because people don't know how to go and forage or where to find. Like it's just not in the system. But they know that $5, $10, $20 will get them a little satchel with some, you know, special stuff in there from their mate down the road without much effort at all. But you know, that's why I'm saying if it was a controlled substance, everyone would know about it, and we would just there'd be, you know, safety by, you know, awareness rather than, you know, let's just label everything bad, and so kids are going to go experiment with drugs now, with who knows what
It's
recommended
true.
dosage and
Well,
stuff like this.
this has brought up even my own kids. I mean, as I've traveled over Eastern Europe, all of them remember like, no, my dad taught me to drink. Like that was part of it. He got me drunk for the first time. And so I hear those stories. I'm like, man, that's crazy. And then you come here where everyone's like, no, you know, don't drink at all. Abstinence, don't have any, you know, say no, say no. And it has made me think like, man, maybe that is the right choice. Is like they need to be exposed to it so then they learn how to either do it with control or you know have the ability to say yes or no on their own, whereas if they're faced with it privately they don't know and then they're hammered, you know, or something goes on. So it has made me kind of, you know, wonder what is the right answer. But I'm a terrible parent in general, so I don't stress about it too much. I've messed up in too many other ways. That
a good example that might be a source of research would be like Amsterdam, because they have you know, legal prostitution,
yeah, you can go there and buy
legal
pot
drug
anywhere,
use,
right? Yeah.
and apparently they have some of the lowest unwanted
Yeah, it's a great place to
pregnancy.
go get, you know, whatever the
Yeah.
hippest, you know,
They have the
STD or
lowest like, you know, lowest drug death rate, I think, and lowest, you know, teenage pregnancy, stuff like that, which is phenomenal because from our conservative brains, it doesn't make sense.
all right. Yeah, there is this idea that if you put a policy out to completely stop something, then you stop it. But all you do is you force it to go underground, and when it's underground, anybody has access to it because it's no longer, you know, regulated. Question: when you took MDMA, did you just take it, or did you? I mean, because ayahuasca comes with a shaman. You know, a shaman will like walk you through.
Yeah. So
it's almost like a therapist.
I'm pretty much a imagined shaman.
I knew you were going to say it. I was like, I'm my own therapist.
Yeah,
I like talk to my own problems. Like right now I'm sad. I need a big bump. So I'm going to take a little bit of this one, a little bit of.
In the past, I've been a bit of a psychonaut. So I have done some journeying to the other dimension. And you know, there's a lot more psychonauts that are sharing their experiences now too. And we're finding a lot of commonalities between experiences going back to, you know, some of the things that you're talking about. Science is actually starting to look at some of these there's some studies now of people using, and it's interesting because you have doctors that they abstain, so they're observing people who are using, but they're taking the witness testimony of the psychonaut going through the experience, and that's the data that they're collecting, right? And then they're comparing those experiences with different patients, and they're finding very commonalities. And I'm seeing, from my own experience, there's like 7 portals, right? And it's very similar to the 7 hermetic principles, right? Do you know about this?
Okay. I knew this was coming when you said 7 portals.
No, but I'm serious, man. I think it is. I think the ancients actually knew the answers to the universe and they shared it with us. And I think we're too dumb. I think we got obsessed with material source information, and we pretend that there's no consciousness or that there's no
We got more into hardware instead of the software of the mind.
Yeah, but you know, there's stuff going on in your brain right now, I hope. Well, maybe not. But that I'm not, I don't see, right? And there's things going on in my brain that you can't see. So obviously there is real things in places that can't be measured physically. And I think that is what we're going to learn when we, you know, when we get more data from people who are experiencing other dimensional stuff.
Well, when I talk to people, all of them seem to have this same, that's why I asked, is all of them seem to have the same conversation where they almost become, it's like, you know, a very solemn conversation.
You meet God.
And they say, listen, it's an experience. It's an experience. And religion always pops into it where I'm always, you know, it's this idea of religion, of connectivity that I'm like, it sounds interesting. And then everybody's like, oh, I got to do it again. So then I'm like, wait a minute. So it sounds like an amazing experience, but it sounds like you need more hits. I mean, so how is that any different than a normal drug that's like, I got a sugar high, I got a sugar rush, or, you know?
I'll show you how. Well, so this is so before my drug use, when I was a little kid, I used to love jumping on the trampoline. I'd jump up and down for hours, and I didn't really understand.
You seem like a very volatile person.
I didn't understand why I did it until just recently. And the whole time I was jumping, what I'd be doing, I'd actually be in my third eye. I'd be imagining being in like a video game or jumping out of an airplane or fighting on.
So that was like, I mean, third eye, this is like meditation. You're kind of in your zone, thinking and imagining.
And so what I think the reason why I jumped on the trampoline was that was a way of confusing my senses, and just enough that it could open my third eye a little bit more and I could escape from my body in a way that, you know, I could really experience and imagine some really crazy stuff, right? And I'd never experienced anything like that again until I was on drugs. And I think that what drugs does is it confuses your senses, and then you start seeing some of the other information, some of the other vibrations of the universe that normally you don't pick up because you're so focused on the five senses. You're so focused on touch, what you can see, what you can hear. And so I think drugs or meditation or
so what you're saying is drugs can get you higher than the trampoline. So
yeah. You need a big trampoline. No, but yeah, so I feel like,
but similar to drugs, every once in a while you need a bounce.
Yeah,
you need a little bump.
Done with this podcast yet? I'm
yeah, I think we're wrapping.
Feeling a little low.
Like, listen, it's been 2 hours and in Arizona, the place would be open. So I need to go get my drink. So awesome. Well, thank you all. You've heard it here where we discuss, you know, all the things going on in the world. I forget our tagline, but where we unpack the wild, interconnected chaos shaping the world and including population decline and all the reasons for it. Thanks for listening. Until next time, talk to you all later.
You had me at drop.